Hi, everybody, and welcome to the Humankind conversation on activeness. I'm your host, Stu Zimmerman, aka Stuzy. We're here recording this live in Sedona, Arizona, one of the hotbeds around the world of higher consciousness. And Humankind is noted for bringing consciousness through the media to learn more about the chakra systems, mindfulness, and how to have truly a higher quality of existence. I'm very excited about today's episode. If you've happened to have missed last month's episode on mindfulness, come to our YouTube channel at Humankind.center. You'll find us there. It was riveting. We had beautiful conversation with a number of deeply wise humans about mindfulness, including yours truly. But today, we're talking about activeness and bringing that sense of mindfulness into the body so that we have vitality and bring that genie of who we are, the genius of who we are, into the body itself. We have an amazing lineup of three incredibly wise people here. We have Arcturus Ra, we have Yara Line, and right now, our first up is Amalia Camateros. Amalia hails from Australia. She's been a naturopath there for over 17 years. She wrote a book called Spirit of the Stones as a shamanic healer, mystic, and brings people onto the land. And she also has helped to shift our entire community here in Sedona by being a founder in ecstatic dance. Amalia, welcome to the conversation on activeness.
Thank you so much. That was wonderful. Thank you, Stuart. And thank you for having me here at Humankind Center.
So clearly, Amalia and I go way back because she gets to call me Stuart. And, you know, that's really only from my mom, who used to call me about however many years ago when I was late for dinner, down the block, Stuart. So I have a little PTSD around it, but I'm getting over it. And Amalia's helping me. But it's not about me. It's about her and her wisdom here today. So let's talk about activeness. And as a shamanic healer, what drew you into that field, and how do you define it for yourself?
Okay, yeah, great. So being a naturopath doctor and helping people's bodies for 17 years, and the focus was on body, and already the ailments, the dis-ease, the unease in the body had already taken place, because that's the last seat of diseasement is in the body. So after 17 years, it was like I really started to become more and more conscious about the causation. Not only as a naturopath doctor do we look at the causation of disorder or symptoms in the body, diseasement in the body, but what is the actual causation of that? So I went higher up, and I started to, of course, had a love affair with Mother Earth. And in my busy practice and being married for 15 years and building a house and dealing with bank managers at a young age, I would find that going out into nature would be the place where I could actually decompress and also be impressed. Be pressed in by Mother Earth and something more powerful than my own little mind spinning around.
And release what is repressed.
That's exactly right. Release what is repressed, which is what I'm all about. That's what I'm really here for, to help people with.
Yeah, so just really curious. So you bring people onto the land, and the idea behind it is that they have stuck energy, right? That dis-ease. So how do you work, or how does the land work to help to dislodge some of that energy?
Firstly, having done so much work on myself, because I don't see a practitioner doing something to somebody else. It's really an extension of the practitioner's wisdom and knowledge and embodiment. That's the healing. So even sometimes looking at someone for 1 second can dislodge something in somebody. And that's happened before, where I've bumped into somebody and I get a letter back from someone saying that ever since I bumped into you, my whole life changed, because it's an embodiment thing. To answer your question, however,
Go ahead.
going out on the land, it is that's the arena from where people can actually be present more, not have the distractions of the signs and the posts and the posts on Facebook and all the different media and all the different intelligences out there, but to really just steep into something really simple and natural, and that's the teacher. So the tools that I would use is my own embodiment and holding that presence and being able to see where the shadows are. What I mean by shadows is the stuck parts in the body that are hidden very, very well. You know, we know that. We have facades, we have masks, we have ways of coping from childhood. But because I'm trained in my own life to pick that out in myself, I'm able to see that in others. So using that with intuition and connecting with a greater source of shaman energy with Mother Earth, I'm able to see it, call it out, and bring it out in a very loving way for people to really see it first and then accept it and then feel it.
Yeah, that's a really great point that you mentioned about energy, because ultimately that's all that everything is. Rumor has it, right? Everything is energy, that's including right. Whoever and whatever we think we are at the core. And so what I hear you saying is you're bringing if we're talking about energy as frequency, you're bringing your higher frequency and your spaciousness and utilizing the land and Mother Nature's natural electromagnetic frequency, if you will.
Absolutely.
That can help to dislodge denser energies in the people you work with.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And also the simplicity and the neutrality of nature, of Mother Earth, is in a loving, embracing way, helps for people to sit back and get down, get out of their head and allow their energy to sink down into their body. And the body never lies. The mind is the culprit. And there's nothing wrong with the mind, of course, but the mind is something else. The body itself is very pure. It's one of the purest expressions of God there is, just like Mother Earth. So blending that body consciousness in with the purest expression of Mother Earth is a way of coming back into a reset point, of coming back into the inner self, so that the mind is not taking over, which is a culprit in a way of, having the duality of, oh yes, and what about no, and I can do it, no you can't. There's a lot of back and forward in that way, but coming into the active embodiment of presence in the body is where the healing, I feel, occurs.
So it sounds like you work with things and energies kind of somatically, let's say, as opposed to talk therapy, where people are so highly identified with their experiences and their narratives as to who they believe themselves to be.
I would do both. I would start with the narrative so people get used to that and they feel comfortable with that, and pretty confident too. So I'll start with that and then slowly bring it down more into the feeling body. There's no use going to the feelings if someone is not aware of what they're feeling, or some of the feelings that have been repressed in the body or in the archives of their mind or the subconscious. That's where the treasure is. That's where our inner dragons are, holding safe and protecting the jewels, which is the trauma or the fears. That they're jewels. That's like gold. That's energy that's been trapped in the body.
And do you notice that specific narratives are lodged in certain parts of the body? Like, let's say, anger. Is that something that's in the liver, or could it be anywhere? What are your thoughts around that?
That's interesting because 30 years ago or so, there was a woman called Louise Hay. I mean, she was here long after the 30 years, but that's when she brought out her book.
How to Heal Yourself?
I think it was called that, How to Heal Yourself, yeah. And that white cover with the rainbow heart, yeah. And she had brought to light that there are different parts of the body that hold different emotions. Now, for example, if the bladder problem, for example, is if you've had a lot of bladder irritations, she would say, what are you pissed off about? Now, in Australia, we know the word pissing means to urinate.
Right.
So it kind of correlates that way. Or if there's a heart problem, it stands to reason and seems understandable that there's some heartbreak. There's something to do with love or not feeling accepted and loved. And the liver, for example, is apparently a seat of anger, where a lot of those resentments get stored in the gallbladder, and the anger gets stored in the liver, because that is a processing plant of the body to clear the emotions. So the emotional toxins would be there too. That would correlate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, beautiful. And as you're talking about, and the topic for the day is really this activeness and vitality. So how we can just love life and have this expansive energy in our bodies just to enjoy life to the fullest, if for no other reason. You work with other modalities as well, right? Such
Absolutely.
as breath and sound.
I'll bring anything.
Bring it all in.
I'll use whatever it takes to bring it home, pretty much. But yes, breath, sound, and movement are the pretty basic counterparts of the hand that holds a lot of balloons, each one.
Yeah, I noticed, I like to play with words.
Yes.
And I've noticed that breath, sound, and movement can correspond to body, spirit, and mind.
Beautiful.
In a way. It's all start with the same letters.
Yeah, well done.
And so,
yeah.
Oh, thank you. So why don't we address one topic at a time?
Okay, yeah.
And let's talk about breath, for example.
Absolutely. Well.
How do you work with breath, and are there certain breaths that you work with people in to move energies?
Yeah, very good. Firstly, I always like to bring things down to the most basic denominator. If you stop breathing, you die.
True.
The more you feel, actually, I'm gonna go back a bit. If you stop breathing, you die. The more you breathe, the more you're alive. The more you feel. That's why when we experience something that feels uncomfortable or we don't want to feel it, the human instinct is to stop our breath. We don't want to feel it. But really, in truth, we need to feel it. We need to feel everything. We are sensory beings. And when we don't feel something, where does that feeling go? It just doesn't disappear. And everything's energy, as we said before, right? So that energy gets stored somewhere in the body. It's kind of like when you're driving along the road and something comes out in front, a little animal might come in front. The first thing we do is we hold our breath and we slam on the brakes, and that breath gets locked into the body, into body memory. And so it's important for us to then really take that conscious breath out to release what we've stored in our body. So that's one of the ways I work with my clients. And myself, of course, number one first. Mm-hmm. I'm never going to teach anything to anybody if I haven't done it myself, of course. And it's important that whenever we feel, even if we're watching the news, you can bet your bottom dollar. I don't know if you have that in America. Bet your bottom dollar.
Some people, in many cases, that's all people have left. But that's a different story.
Blessings to everybody.
Truly.
So, we know even when we're watching a movie or news, there's part of our system, our nerve system responds. Everything's responding at everything. We are sensory beings, and if we have one negative thought that comes into our mind, the peptides and the neurotransmitters and all the chemicals, we are chemical factories in a way too, all come down, pouring down immediately. So if you think of a negative thought, immediately you're going to get adrenaline or noradrenaline, and it starts pumping as well. Oh, quick! I've got to fight. I've got to react. Right? That's what happens with even a negative thought. So it's important to know that when we have thoughts that are not benevolent to ourselves or other people, to let's just take a few deep breaths now and just recognize that there's something in our body somewhere that needs to be released. And so taking a deep breath and just letting go. There's no pushing on the exhale, because that's, of course, now creating another contraction. So just letting it go, just surrender. That's a big part of the breath. It does it on its own. We breathe in oxygen and we release carbon dioxide. So we breathe in the new possibility of letting go, and we release what we no longer need. And just the second part of that question is, so I call that catch your breath and release. Catch your breath and release. You caught your breath and release it. But then there's also breath work. So breath work is another whole modality.
Mm-hmm. Do you work with people?
Yes.
In that modality?
Yes, in groups as well. Large groups, small groups, one-on-one, to lie down. You lie down, there's loud music, there's wonderful music. And that music sensory input can take over the mind. Excuse me, takes over the mind. And so there's a way of breathing in a circular, connected breath that doesn't have any holds on the top or holds on the exhale or the inhale. So this eternal breath is kind of like the eternal breath of God. It's how nature works. That's how day and night work. And that's how the ocean waves work. That's how death and life work. So using that perpetual breath that moves through the body helps to, in a sense, like brush clean, like, the bottle brush. You're kind of getting that kind of bottle brush energy, cleaning out all the body and the mind and the emotions. And it's great. It's powerful.
Yeah, I've experienced that myself, and it can even take one into an altered state,
yes,
or certainly a non-ordinary state.
It is what we call an altered state too. Yeah.
So, is there a particular breathing pattern or exercise that maybe you can invite people to? I know we just did one deep breath and just kind of let it go, but there are all kinds of breaths out there, right? Some really do promote, like a breath of fire, for example, right? Does more of a vitality. It's faster and faster paced. Is there something you would recommend that people do just so they can help to navigate their own
Thank you. Yeah, that's great.
system?
To be honest with you, I'm just going to share with what feels right and resonant for me, what I do, because I don't want to jump over myself into giving something else out there. But whenever I feel, I've noted, you know how you see sometimes people who look really relaxed and they're talking really relaxed, but their foot is up like that. Have you noticed that?
Maybe I'm not as observant as you are, but
I'm very observant of these things.
Okay.
People might look, I'm so relaxed and I'm teaching meditation or whatever, and their foot's like this, and to me it's like, hey, you're not aware of all of your body in that form of relaxation. Or maybe when someone's speaking and they're speaking like this, it's like, let's bring awareness of breath. Let's bring the awareness of breath into the body. When you look at nature, Mother Earth, the air element that rustles through the trees, and then the rustling wind, the wind through the rustling leaves, drops any dead leaves. That wind, that breath of spirit drops the dead leaves. So that's what I would like to say to everybody, that be aware that your breath is like the breath of spirit moving through your body. And just letting go the dead leaves, the dead branches, the toxicity, the emotional too muchness, the electric static energy that can be grounded with a breath. That's the kind of breath I want to teach people. Just be natural and simple, and use the breath as you move along in life, and just be aware of it. It's also important sometimes to get those little sticky notes and write on the sticky notes, breathe, because human beings, adults, breathe 28,000 times a day. Did you know that?
I did not.
And how many of those breaths are we actually conscious of? Not many.
Not many. Okay.
Not many, right?
Not many.
So having something like a reminder, like training wheels around, just here when you open the door, breathe. Oh, I held my breath. Okay. Oh, I'm flushing the toilet. Oh, I was holding my breath. So it is a reminder, because the ego mind doesn't want to surrender so much. It's there to hold things in the filing system and hold it back, because really it's there to protect you from feeling pain. But it takes over after a while and then holds us hostage to its own betterment.
Its own devices, which in many cases actually exacerbates pain.
That's exactly
or the
right.
Perception of it, at least.
Exactly. Yeah.
So we've covered breath.
Yes.
That's good. Now,
Thank you.
Let's talk about sound.
Let's talk about sound.
Sound off, lady.
Well, sound to me, like, there's a lot of sound healing going on the planet, in the world, and of course we have the music that we can dance to, and that's going to come in the movement section. Mm-hmm. But sound in the way that I would like to offer you today is using the throat chakra there's a lot, again, when we don't want to feel something, not only do we hold our breath, but often we swallow down. We kind of take a gulp. Even in intimacy, when you're holding someone and breathing, and you can hear them gulp, it's like I'm very aware and very astute of these things, yeah, and it's important for sound to come out, because we are visceral beings. We do the sense of hearing is so important for us, and depending on what sound is happening in nature. For example, if we have a thunderous clap of lightning, it can frighten us, or if we have a trickling of a creek that's very gentle, it does something to our nerve system. So it's important to use the sound as a vibration to release. And when I say release, I'm talking about leasing the body, becoming present in the body.
Well, in some ways, we are leasing these bodies for a limited time only, right? We think we own them, but you know what? It's a limited time only by some measures.
Exactly.
But let's make a distinction here, because on one level, you're talking about sound that we generate through our throat chakra, whether it's through speaking, singing, toning, whatever that is, that can move energy.
Yeah.
As well as the external sounds, the sounds that we respond to.
That's right.
Whether it's the soundtrack to the to the movie Jaws, which gets us all tense and starting to hold our breath, or whether it's something like a waterfall or an ocean tide, which can be very relaxing.
Yes, I use that as an example of how sound can affect us. But really coming from us now, from each and every one of us, I feel it's important to give your feelings a way of expression. Now, that sound, the throat chakra doesn't only relate and only release through sound, through voice, song, screaming, being able to scream into a pillow, for example. There's a lot of trapped up emotion that's in our body, and that density of that trapped up emotion creates denial. And denial is what's really rampant on the planet Earth.
Because it also constricts our energy, or it keeps our frequency lower.
Keeps our frequency low. We're more controlled that way by, so-called higher forces. Excuse me. And so it's important, sound as a vibration, to be vibrated out. And sound is, as we know, sound affects us. And as we know, sound healing can heal us. Toning can heal us. But if we can, I invite you to go down into the body at some point when you're sitting quietly and feel where the stuck energy is. Feel where you feel the density. And everyone, you know where that is. You know that part of yourself, that when you feel anxious, already know the tingling or the constriction that happens in the body and where that is. So when you've got some time, just go down into that place of density, of constriction, and what sound would that make? If it had a voice, that emotion, that feeling. Actually, we're talking about feelings now. We're not talking about emotions. Emotions are feelings with judgment attached to it. We're talking about sensations of the body. That's what feelings are. Yeah? So going into that feeling place, that sensation of, oh, I'm feeling constricted. Oh, I'm feeling tight. Oh, so, children do that. Children they do that without any holdback. Yeah?
Yeah.
We've been we're coveted in that way.
With a couple of my children, I've got 5 of them, but they're all grown up now. But way back in the day when they were really young, one of the things we just naturally did together was, in a way, tone together. I would go, ah, and I'm thinking of my baby girl, Sophia, who's now 20, not such a baby. She would look at me like straight in the eyes and go, ah, and we just dropped in together into a tone.
Beautiful.
And it felt like we were really just bonding. In a really beautiful way. I could almost feel the oxytocin, you mentioned earlier that we're all just a bunch of chemicals here on some level. I could feel that biochemical of trust and love and bonding just kind of like permeating our entire field together.
Yeah. The sound of the universe, the sound, the frequency and the vibration travels through light, it travels through sound, it travels through love. And so I think it's important to give these parts of our souls a voice. Now, that can also be written out in journals. It can also be expressed in different ways. It doesn't have to be through sound alone, but we're talking about the throat chakra, which is an expression. But sound is important. That's why when the teenagers, and including myself at some point, they go to the rock concerts and they're able to scream, and the rock and rollers on stage, they're screaming, and it's an emotional release. I remember going to a Michael Jackson concert in Oahu many years ago, 20-something years ago, maybe 25 years ago, in Oahu, Hawaii. And Michael Jackson was after all that big controversy about him and how he was relating to children. And he came out on stage. This was extraordinary. He came out on stage and he stood there in silence. This is one of his first concerts after many years of retracting back into his own private life, See, now I've got to take a breath. I'm getting too excited, so I've got to take a breath and come back. But Michael Jackson stood there and raised his arm and screamed, maybe a scream for 1 or 2 minutes. One long wail. Screamed, ah! And everyone was transfixed. And then after the scream, after 1 or 2 minutes of holding that tone, everybody together, he collapsed on the ground and just surrendered. That's like an amazing example of how you can release so much through sound.
Wow, powerful.
Very powerful.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
So what about...
Thank you, Michael Jackson.
Thank you, Michael Jackson, because speaking of Michael Jackson, who was obviously known for his music, how do you use music in having people move energy?
Beautiful.
Because that also relates to dance.
Great question, Stuart.
Go bullet. There she goes again, sounding like my mom.
We're more, English spoken in Australia, right?
Yeah.
I still have that after 25 years or so of being here. But Stu, okay.
Whatever works. Let's go.
Okay. So I have been giving earth spirit dance workshops where I incorporate the shamanic with the dance in teaching about the body and teaching about the mind and teaching about Mother Earth's wisdom through dance. And I've done that many years, and a lot of people don't know that so much of me now because it's shifted into ecstatic dance. But both of them, being the facilitator and curator of music for the set list, I will feel the mood like this. For example, in the Earth Spirit Wisdom Dance, the shamanic dance workshops, if I am encouraging a group of women, for example, to step into their femininity or to feel their femininity, because as we know, a lot of the feminine culture has become harder, has become work-oriented and a little bit more projectile in terms of penetrating into the field of work. So in this case, I would get some rounded, sensual music that would correlate to the second chakra, which is in regards to the water element. So we're looking at this kind of rounded movement, like kind of belly dancing, to get that feminine energy and that kundalini serpent energy that resides at the root chakra to rise up into the rest of the body. Or, for example, if I am going to lead a dance in relationship to releasing the density of the body, then I'm going to choose the root chakra energy music, which is more about earth and sort of like a bone music, like earth music, slower music to release, like connecting, like being a rock on the earth, just letting go. In ecstatic dance, there's a flow that we start really slow to build up and get the body more do some stretch. In everyone gets to do a little bit of stretching and limbering up. And so the music's very, very slow. It's entering slowly. It's like a relationship we're going to have with the person. I'm creating a relationship for the person that what they're experiencing is very intimate with the music. And so it starts slow and then it rises up to a little bit more lyrical energy, and then it goes harder and faster and higher and into that ecstatic peak. And then we go down a little bit and maybe have a little bit of a hiccup up and then land them down. This is all to do with sound. This is the sound journey. It's another kind of sound healing.
And moving energy.
And moving energy, absolutely.
Because one thing I notice is when I'm engaged in ecstatic dance, I'm really not thinking about much else. So it kind of quiets the mind in a way.
Yes.
And it just feels this, I feel just a sense of freedom of movement and flowing expression.
Yes.
That I typically may not move in that way a lot of the time.
That's right.
And
Absolutely. So now we're going into movement, and sound and movement really comes together too. Absolutely. All of it comes together. We can't have breath as one modality, sound as another, and movement as another. Really, it's breath, sound, and movement. It's the whole thing together. But I do agree with what you're saying with allowing the flow of the body. Is that music not only allows the flow of the body, but the mind syncs up with that flow. And then it comes into a relationship with spirit, because we are spirit. We are made of energy and spirit. And so slowing down enough to feel the flow of the music allows us to tune into a higher frequency of our own being, our own self. That's, again, we're coming back down to getting out of the mind, getting out of that chattering, getting out of the mind-made manacles of this is how I look and this is how I should look and oh, what this person looks like better, they're dancing me and it's crazy. It's crazy forming. So getting down into the body, into the breath, with simple elements of breath and sound and movement is what I regard living an active way of life, because it's all about energy moving. To me, that's the currency. Okay, you can have money here and you can have BMWs and Rolls Royces and Rolex watches, whatever material things you can have. It's, of course, they're all energy too. However, I think we missed the mark that energy is the true currency. That's the richness, the aliveness of the energy. So whatever it takes to keep that flowing, like a river, if it stagnates, starts to attract bacteria. We can't drink it, we can't utilize it, we can't even get into it.
Well, they do say that energy is a currency. So
it's a current sea. It's a current of energy, like a sea that moves.
So we're in the process of winding up here, actually.
Yes.
And, this time has flown by with Amalia here. You're fabulous. You're
Thank you.
amazing.
Thank
And is there anything you'd like to, kind of soundbite, leave the audience with here, and also let people know how they can get in hold of you?
Oh, thank you very much. Yes, please get hold of me. Another thing is touch. But we're not going to go into that. I'll just keep it simple. Okay, everybody. So let's take a few deep breaths together. Inhaling into the top of the head. And as you exhale, follow the exhale as if you are the breath, like a coffee plunger or like going down on an elevator down to ground floor. Let's do that again. Taking a deep breath in. See if you can make a sound on the exhale, just like a sigh. We sigh all the time in life, but that's like a victim sigh. This is a proactive release, surrender sigh to Great Spirit. Again. Follow it down to the most basic part of yourself that doesn't lie or compete, and just down into the root of your being, into the root chakra, right there between the anal sphincter and the genitals. That's where the root chakra is, all the way down, where we can connect into something real with Mother Earth. Our roots connect to Mother Earth. Just practice that. Practice coming in and down. Breathing in and down. Bring it away from here. Bring it away from here. So I invite you to have a look at my website. May I say I really like my website? I do. Of course, our website is a reflection of who we are. So I found to love myself. Like myself and love myself. It's taken a long time, but that's really important that we do that. So my website is earthspiritwisdom.com. So it's earthspiritwisdom.com. And I have many different things there. I have blogs, I have talks, I have a book there for sale too called Spirit of the Stones, going out into the stone beings and listening to their wisdom and teaching you how you can really become your own inner shaman. You know, see for yourself through the eyes of your own inner shaman.
Beautiful. Amalia, such a joy to be in this conversation with you.
So much.
Thank you so much for being here. And we're going to take a very brief break here. Arcturus Ra is going to be next up, so you're going to want to stay tuned for him as well. And thank you so much for joining us so far.
Thank you.